Welcome to Stakeholder Analysis in Project Management, where we focus on identifying and engaging the people who shape project outcomes. In this presentation, we will unpack concepts, frameworks, and practical steps to map influence, manage expectations, and create engagement plans that keep projects aligned with broader organizational goals throughout the project lifecycle. This slide lays out the structure of our session, so you know what to expect. From foundational definitions through mapping frameworks and engagement strategies to tools and case studies, giving you a clear roadmap for how we will move from theory to practical application across each phase of stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis means systematically identifying and evaluating individuals or groups that influence or are affected by a project. Beyond the definition, this slide highlights the human element of collaboration and the three core objectives: evaluate interests and power, manage expectations with transparency, and design tailored engagement to secure strategic alignment for successful delivery. When we define a stakeholder, think broadly. Anyone who influences or is affected by project outcomes. It helps to separate those who hold influence from those who experience impact, and to recognize vested interest as the commitment people have to success or failure, so we can target communication and involvement more effectively. Stakeholder analysis matters because modern projects are more complex, socially visible, and digitally connected than ever. This slide explains how complexity, social responsibility, real-time communication, and the need for sustainable value make rigorous stakeholder work essential to avoid surprises and to maintain alignment with evolving expectations. Performing stakeholder analysis delivers tangible benefits. It helps identify blockers early, reduces risk through clearer alignment, improves goal matching between teams and stakeholders, and optimizes engagement resources. The charts on this slide underline that focused analysis increases engagement effectiveness and directly correlates to higher success rates and fewer execution issues. The stakeholder analysis process follows a three-stage workflow: identify, categorize, and prioritize. This slide shows how that structured approach becomes part of the project lifecycle. So analysis is not a one-time task, but an iterative practice that adapts as relationships, risks, and priorities shift during delivery. Identification is about casting a wide net, using collaborative brainstorming, reviewing organizational documentation, and consulting experts to uncover both obvious and hidden stakeholders. The goal here is comprehensive mapping so no influential groups are missed, and the box on the slide shows how these methods balance coverage and depth for reliable insights. Internal stakeholders fall into categories like execution drivers, strategic support, and project impact recipients. This slide explains how project teams and functional managers drive delivery, executive sponsors provide strategic backing, and internal departments ultimately receive outcomes, which helps prioritize engagement based on role and influence within the organization. External stakeholders include primary value recipients, such as customers and end users, partners like suppliers and subcontractors who provide execution resources, and regulatory bodies that ensure compliance. This slide highlights their differing motivations and the importance of treating external groups with tailored strategies to protect project value and legal alignment. The project sponsor plays a critical role by providing funding, political backing, and a connection to senior leadership. This slide emphasizes the sponsor as both an enabler and a strategic bridge, empowered to make decisions and advocate for the project, which makes their alignment and active involvement a priority for project success. Phase 2 moves raw stakeholder lists into structured maps through mapping, frameworks, and scale alignment. This slide explains how we convert initial lists into visual models like grids or salience diagrams to clarify relationships, prioritize attention, and select the right framework for the project's scale and resource constraints. The power interest matrix helps visualize who holds authority and who cares most about project outcomes. This slide explains the four-quadrant approach, showing how mapping power and interest guides tailored strategies, from close management of high-power supporters to monitoring lower-impact groups, making engagement efforts more efficient and focused. High-power, high-interest players are the top-tier stakeholders who can make or break a project. This slide outlines their characteristics, why their support is critical, and engagement strategies like active partnership and frequent consultation to ensure continuous alignment and to avoid sudden opposition that could halt progress. For stakeholders with high power but low day-to-day interest, the aim is to keep them satisfied without overloading them. This slide describes authority management, meeting essential needs to prevent negative influence, and a balanced outreach approach that maintains their support while respecting their limited involvement. Low-power but highly interested stakeholders are valuable advocates and information sources. This slide explains how to keep them informed by leveraging their enthusiasm to gather feedback, empowering advocates within the project's scope, and providing regular, meaningful updates so their insight contributes to risk identification and project improvement. Low-power, low-interest groups require minimal, efficient engagement focused on monitoring and data filtering. This slide recommends streamlined communication, periodic checks for shifts in relevance, and strict information curation, so these groups stay aware without consuming disproportionate project resources or creating noise in stakeholder communication. Advanced mapping introduces the salience model, which ranks stakeholders by power, legitimacy, and urgency. This slide shows how combining those attributes into tiers helps prioritize engagement where it matters most, using Venn-style logic to identify definitive and high-priority stakeholders for immediate attention and tailored strategies. The influence impact grid helps distinguish direct authority from the tangible effects stakeholders experience, and it prioritizes engagement based on the scale of observed change. This slide emphasizes using visualization to reveal where influence translates into real impact, so teams allocate attention to those most affected by project shifts. Understanding motivations means assessing financial, professional, emotional, and political drivers behind stakeholder behavior. This slide highlights how qualitative interviews and targeted data collection reveal priorities and concerns, enabling teams to align project goals with stakeholder incentives and reduce friction by addressing core interests directly. Phase 3 moves analysis into prioritization and strategy, deciding how often and how deeply to engage each group. This slide frames engagement planning as a resource allocation exercise, turning insight into a concrete roadmap that focuses efforts on high-impact areas to maximize value and efficiency in the final months of delivery. Assessing support and resistance involves rating stakeholder alignment, identifying change champions, and developing mitigation plans for opponents. This slide explains how to spot high-drive leaders who can push transitions, quantify support levels, and create targeted strategies to reduce risk from vocal or influential detractors. The stakeholder engagement plan translates mapping into actions by defining communication channels, assigning responsibilities, and setting strategic goals for each group. This slide stresses the importance of clear ownership, consistent information flow, and measurable objectives so engagement fuels progress rather than becoming an administrative burden. Effective stakeholder analysis requires tailoring messages to technical levels, choosing push or pull communication methods, and establishing feedback loops to validate insights. This slide explains how aligning content and delivery with stakeholder needs ensures clarity, continuous validation of analysis, and a culture of structured, ongoing communication. Conflicting interests are inevitable, so this slide focuses on negotiation, finding common ground, and maintaining transparency to resolve disputes. It explains practical techniques like mediation, requirements alignment, and clear reporting to reduce friction and build trust among stakeholders who may have competing needs. Monitoring and reviewing analysis is about maintaining continuous alignment through scheduled updates, milestone tracking, and adaptive tactics. This slide recommends a lifecycle audit and dynamic response mode, so the stakeholder register stays accurate, strategies evolve with project realities, and teams can react quickly to emerging shifts in influence or interest. Tools and technology enhance stakeholder management by enabling sentiment prediction, real-time engagement data, and transparency hubs. This slide highlights how integrated platforms and AI-driven insights can boost efficiency and visibility, increasing adaptability and helping teams act on timely signals to maintain alignment and project momentum. Common pitfalls include missing silent stakeholders, relying on static frameworks, and ignoring informal networks. This slide warns that these errors lead to unexpected resistance, obsolete strategies, and missed decision pathways. And it encourages continuous discovery, iterative updating, and attention to informal influence across the organization. The case study shows how thorough analysis rescued a critical infrastructure project by uncovering hidden risks, enabling proactive engagement, and delivering measurable success through satisfaction scores and retention metrics. This slide illustrates the real-world payoff of disciplined stakeholder work: prevention of failure, faster recovery, and long-term value creation. To conclude, remember the three-step recap. Identify all affected parties, prioritize using power and interest, and understand needs to tailor engagement. Relationship management is a strategic lever, not just soft skill, and the call to action is to start early, keep analysis iterative, and turn insights into practical steps to ensure project success.